Hey everybody, and welcome back to Devin UG, the original Grognard. And today we are taking a look and we're going to do a quick unboxing and maybe a quick game recap of Atlantic Storm. This is the Admiral's edition from Lock and Load Publishing. This was originally done by Avalon Hill in 1996, 97, right around there. I think this was one of the last games that Avalon Hill put out before they got bought out by Hasbro. It's one of three games, and I always forget which one. It was either this, Bitter Woods, which most of you may know from the L3 fame. Starship Troopers? No, Starship Troopers was one of the last. I don't think it was the last, but regardless. I'm surprised that this game has weathered and held the test of time and has been republished. When I originally picked it up, I wanted just kind of a small, light card game for the wife and I to play because I was trying to get her into gaming and I didn't want anything too heavy. And little did I realize it didn't work really good as a two-player game. It can, but it's not spectacular as a two-player game. It's best as a 4 to 6 player game. It's a good card game. It's a trick-taking game. I think that's what it's called. I'm not really too hip and keen on most of the card verbiage and vernacular. But you're basically going after suits and trying to get the highest score in the suit and collecting victory points. And it's all set against the Battle of the Atlantic, submarine warfare and anti-submarine warfare and running convoys through. I'm going to take a look at the rule book real quick. Not much to it. I mean, at the end of the day, there's 26 pages. But honestly, let's see, maybe 14 pages of it are the actual rules. And again, typical lock and load, very large font. You've got the blue text, which indicates changes or modifications from the original system. Red text being examples of play. And very large graphics for the layout. So it's not that difficult of a game. Like I said, 14 pages. And this game, I've seen it mostly at cons. This is it's a big con game. Basically because the rules are so simple, you can get 4 to 6 people into play it, and it plays relatively quick. I mean, 4 to 6 people can probably knock out a game of this in under an hour. And it's nice, tight, compact, not a lot of setup to it. So it makes a good con game. And I will have to say, the graphics are on the cards are a lot better. Now, the first edition, the Avalon Hill edition, which I used to have a copy of, like I said, but I got rid of. And I wish I could, I kind of wish I still had it so I could do a comparison of the two. The images and the graphics in the first one was pretty good, but this is even a little bit better. So let's go ahead and take a look in the box. I'm kind of surprised. This is what, 2-inch box? I'm kind of surprised at the size of the box for what's in it. Honestly, there's not a lot in it. The original Avalon Hill, granted, used smaller cards, but was in a much smaller box. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we got. We got dice. I like the lock and load. Let's see if I can think of my handy dandy knife. Let's see if I can do this without slicing the hell out of my hands this time. So the big lock and load dice. They're dice. They roll. They do what they're supposed to. And you've got 3 force decks in here, but technically they all get shuffled together. I think one of the sealed decks is for German forces, one of the sealed decks is for British and Allied forces, and one is just random or can be used by both sides. And then there's the convoy cards, which are, as you can see, the convoy. And this is what you're going for. This is what you're fighting over to get points for. There's the victory point value right there. So, if you win the hand, you'll get those victory points. There's other victory points that you can get as well, because it is kind of a co-op game. So let's just go ahead and crack this open and take a look at some of the cards in here. So basically, you don't play with this entire deck. I mean, there's a lot of cards in here. There are, let's go ahead and crack open the rules again. several different ways you can play, and I do like this over the original version. Let's see if I can find... And again, getting started. Yeah, okay. So you've got a quick play, which is discard 28 convoys at random and shuffle the remaining. You've got pure random. You've got loaded. You've got faded. And you've got everything. So right there, you've got several different quote-unquote scenarios you can do for the different deck sizes. Then you can also go with... Let's see if I can find them. You can do the increased challenge. Oh, that's for the solo. You can do the chronological version, which is you set up the convoy draw piles for the 1940, 41, 42, and 43 piles, and you play through them chronologically. Set the force deck. And then, of course, you have different hand sizes for the different years you're in. And there's got rules for the team version. It's got 2 and 3 player rules. It's got the solitaire rules. So there is a lot more options in this than you had in the original. In the original, it was pretty much set at 4 players, and it kind of had rules for 2 and 3, had no rules for solitaire players. So, but basically what you're doing is each round is you're pulling, whoever's the round it is, you're basically pulling one of these cards randomly. And this will tell you basically the card you're able to play for. It gives, the historical HX 112 Halifax to Liverpool. Gives what year it is, if it's empty, half loaded or fully loaded, and how many victory points it's worth, and a little bit of text. Plus, you can kind of notice the background. You see kind of the smooth waters. Let's see if we can find. Yeah, right here we got more. Is that more icy waters? Yeah, I guess that would be more icy waters. So you've got the difference between Atlantic Ocean, which are the calm blue waters, and then Arctic convoys, which have kind of got more of this icy white here. And basically, the convoy tells you what type of cards you can play against it. So basically, for HG53, you can play cards from 1941 in the Atlantic. Well, that's great. What does that mean? Well, when you get shuffled your cards, and the cool thing about this is, as generally you can play, unless you're playing full up one side or the other, which is kind of an option. I think that's only in solitaire. You're randomly shuffled all these cards, and you can play as either the German or the British, whatever hand you're doing. Now, if you go into a convoy playing as British, you obviously got to only play British cards. But the next convoy, you may want to go after. You may want to play as Germany. So you can play as both sides. The whole point is to get the victory points. So what exactly does this mean? Well, okay, here we go. Escort Group 5. This is a force card. You can see that by the force. These are the years it can be played. Here's some kind of the text that goes along with it. Here's how many victory points it's worth if you manage to beat out, if the Germans played and won the hand, then, well, actually, it's not just whoever ends up winning. In this case, it would be the Germans because, the British can't win against themselves. Actually, they could. Well, anyways. It's worth 2 victory points for whoever wins the hand. And these are the different stat values that it is worth. It's, I think it's air, surface, subsurface. So it has 0 value in an anti-air roll. It has 1 in a surface roll, and it has a question mark, which means you roll a d6 for it in the subsurface. Now, the cool thing about the question marks is you don't really know what it is until everybody's played their cards, and then everybody's rolls whatever question marks they have randomly. So, and we can see this is an Atlantic. So if we were to have this convoy card, 1941. Okay, it's 1941. I could play this. This is Atlantic. This is Atlantic. So if I had this in my hand, I could play this card to try to get this convoy. Well, now, how exactly do you go about taking the tricks? Whoever the dealer is, and that passes from each round, and the person who draws the convoy cards, you draw 2 convoy cards, or he draws 2 convoy cards, and he decides which one he wants to play. The other one gets discarded. Now, that's worth 3 victory points. Let's get rid of that one and let's play with this one. So he'll lay that down as the card that's being played for. And then he will decide if he wants it to be an air, a surface, or a subsurface fight. And then there is also another one combined. Not sure if he can call it combined. I think there's some other restrictions that that have to be fulfilled before it's a combined, which is basically all of them being added together. And basically each person, you go around in order, and each person plays a card, one force card. As we can tell, that's a force card. Or, where's an event card? Yeah, something like this. Metric radar. This is a bonus card. So you can play multiple bonus cards, but you can only play one force card. And as you can see with this metric radar, if you played this as a bonus, play alone or with another card of any type you under was first recorded sinking. Yeah, we'll get into faded cards in a little bit by that. But this would give, come on, focus. This would give +1 to air, +1 to, or +0 to air, +1 to surface, +1 to subsurface. And that right there means it's not worth any points. It's that when the card is used, it goes into the discard pile and can get reshuffled back in. So this card could be seen again. So, for example, I could play both of these cards in my hand and say I'm going, well, let's go with subsurface, because obviously we have a question mark, which could possibly potentially be better than the one surface. So I go, all right, so we're going subsurface, and I'm playing the metric, so I've got a D6 +1. Now, everybody else out there can either try to help me win the hand, or they can try to oppose me. And basically, whoever wins, you take all the cards that lost, and you basically get the victory points for them. But the funky thing about it is if multiple people help you win, then whoever dealt the convoy out has to split up the spoils. So say two people, the dealer and then one other person helps to win the hand. And say there's 3 cards that end up being part of the victor's pile. The convoy card, which typically is worth the most points, plus say, and we'll just say, for example, these 2 cards here. So the dealer, he gets to decide how to divvy up the cards, and it has to be done equitably. The dealer chooses 1 card to give to each person. Everybody has to who helped out. Every person has to have 1 card before another person gets a second card. And there are times when you can get 4 or 5 cards in these things. It can get kind of big. So divvying out the spoils is definitely the way you figure out how the victory points. There's also a little bit of wheeling and dealing. You can say, hey, if anybody out there wants to help me, I'll give you a chance at a 50-50 roll for getting the convoy, taking the convoy victory point. So, you know, you could have little wheels and deals like that. And you know, it's open talking. You can make whatever deals like that you want to. But yeah, these are the German cards. And of course, or those were the British cards. Let's see if I can open this without slicing my hand open. Plastic is not cooperating with me today. So, oh, there's the back of it. So, you know, we've got German cards. I mean, like I said, the graphics on these are really clear, really tight, really cool. I like the historical text that goes along with them. And there's one other thing I wanted to get to. You have these little yellow identifiers or units down here in the lower left-hand corner. Those are basically faded. It means that if for some reason... Oh, and let's see if I can find a faded force unit. Okay, yeah, Scharnhorst. You know, a faded unit is a faded unit. It's got yellow in the title of it. So that means there is a card out there that is fated against it, and historically was the unit that sunk it. So if someone were to play the Scharnhorst, as you can see right here, faded by Duke of York. If someone were to play the Scharnhorst and someone else had the Duke of York card and played it, they could play the Duke of York card and would immediately take the faded target as victory. And the person who played this card basically doesn't have a card that they played that turn because they got faded against. So you don't always want to play too many faded cards unless you know who they're faded by has already been discarded, or maybe even you're holding it onto yourself. But that's another way to get victory points. So the Scharnhorst is worth 4 victory points. And it would be 4 victory points if it was in a convoy, if it ended up losing. Or whoever happened to have the Duke of York and played the Duke of York, whoever played the Duke of York would get the 4 points that would go right into their pile. So that's basically the game. And then there's a whole bunch of other cards over here, which can be used by both sides. Take a look at them real quick. And there are enough flavor texts and random events that do keep it from just turning into just a normal, suit card. I haven't even seen this one. This is just, looks like you can throw that on a convoy and fade it to whoever you want. That's cool. That's new. Oh, these are more German cards here. So yeah, bunch of cards. There is a solitaire version of this. I'm going to go ahead and try playing through a couple times to make sure I got the rules right. I may sit down and record that. But yeah, I just wanted to give tarot sized. If you haven't figured that out, these are regular tarot sized and these are regular playing card sized for your sleeving needs. I think I've got enough regular sleeves left. And it really doesn't matter what's on the back because force cards are all one size and convoy cards, targets cards are all one size. So it doesn't matter if I sleeve them. I think I got enough sleeves left to do the regular playing cards. We'll see about sleeving the tarot. But yeah, that's it. Just wanted to give a quick brief of this. Brief look, that is. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms in the comment section. I'll see everybody next time. See ya.